Okay, folks, this is the video lecture on, or video demo, excuse me, on how to do the UV3 assignment. We're going to be using the same UV3 project folder for our next few assignments as we take notes on bump and spec maps next week. So this is going to be really short and sweet, as most of it is just to be demonstrating how we add bump and spec maps when we get to that next week. So I'm just going to go ahead and set my project. If you haven't already, go download the Cinder bump spec from the classroom. Okay. Just hit open. So I set my project. It says UV5 Cinder spec. I'm just rename. One sec. Okay, I went and renamed it so it'll reflect accurately that we're using this for UVs 3, 4, and 5, which will be about 4 and 5 will be about bump maps and spec maps. So let's go ahead and hit open. UV3, 4, 5 Cinder. Boom. So you've seen me use the CinderBlock a few times before. It is got very bad, fairly poor UVs is what I was going to say. So we're just going to recreate the UV maps, and we're going to be using a tiling texture, so then we'll need to lay out our shells so that each of them are proportional so that we can apply the CinderBlock texture to this at the end. So turn on my checkerboard map here. I'm going to turn off checkerboard in the UV space here. Alright, so you can see the UV's not looking too good. Okay, so let's do this stuff real quick. So 1, 2, 3, all these. So I'll flip on my isolate select, so that's what I got now. I'm also just gonna work smart. So both of these are visible on, oh, I gotta deselect that. That's why we use this step. So these are on the x-axis, so I'll just go over here, planar map, x, move them out here, and because I know they're on top of each other, I'm going to unstack them. So then I'll grab the shells, unfold U, unfold V, boom. Alright, so that's 2. Then let's go back to face mode. So now I'm going to do the top and bottom, but also the top and bottom of the insides of the cinder block. So if I isolate select, you'll see those are the 10 faces that I have selected. Oh, and I still have my sides selected. So okay, so hold on. So I'm just gonna do it in here. I'll just hold Control, deselect all these faces and that face. So let's redo my isolate select. There we go. That's what we should see. So just the faces that are on the, or oriented with the y-axis. So I'll planar map using middle mouse button. Bring these shells out here, and I'll just select them, unfold U, unfold V, and you know what, I'm gonna unstack these. Hold on, let me go into shell mode. There we go. Take this other big shell, move that over there. There we go. Okay. So I'm just trying to unstack them so I know where each is, but you can leave them stacked if you would prefer. Alright, so turn off isolate select. Last things to do in our UV mapping is that we need to project the faces that are otherwise on the z-axis. Planar those on the z, move them out here. Unfold U, unfold V. Alright, so again, UV mapping is done. Select, project, move, unfold. So we have a series of unfolded shells with uneven proportion between the shells. So we're seeing the checkerboard map apply at an uneven rate. So what I'm going to do is start going in. We'll do the UV layout process. Now I've already told you, so this is where you make those decisions: tiling texture or non-tiling texture. And for the time being, it's going to be all tiling textures. So in that case, when you have a tiling texture, your UV layout process is to get shells that share a material to have common proportion between them so that the texture applies evenly. Okay, so if I'm gonna say the faces that are here are gonna be my guide size. So I'm gonna take all of these here. If I look at these, so the faces that are in here, I'm in my UV shell mode. I guess I'm gonna take these off here. So these ones, if I'm looking at this, it looks like they already match up already. Close enough anyway, so I'm not going to worry about those. I'll move those off to this side, my other completed shells. So let's take these ones. What's up with these? How do they match up? Alright, these match up already too. So we don't have to worry about that. So these shells, however, it looks like might have some odd proportionality. Yeah, so we can see these ones here. I'm recording this during first period. So let's just go ahead and scale these up and increase our texture density. So scale this up, and you're seeing I'm getting more texture the more I scale up the shell, so that's going to get me more checkerboard. And so yeah, it looks about right. Cool. Put these up here. And then that gives us these. So again, we're just going to scale these up. The cheaty way is that the length of this should equal the length of this, but I'm going to do it by eye with you guys. So there we go. Alright, so everything in here now is properly proportional with one another, and then I'm just going to get my shells a little tidier with one another, just because when I scale all of these up in a second, I'd like to keep them more close to one another instead of scaling them out infinitely into space. And then, so I'll just take this, move them more so they're sort of centered in the UV space. And then, so you can see this is my checkerboard material applying over it. So now let's go actually assign a material and texture. I'm going to turn, or close my UV editor, excuse me. Alright, so we're done in there, for right now anyway. And then, so we have this in object mode. Let's assign a favorite material and add a we're going to need a blend eventually, so we'll add, for the time being, a blend. And if it doesn't show up automatically here, just right click, go here for blend. So this is going to be our CinderBlock blend. What we're going to need to do for starters is add a color. If I click this, hit file, click my folder, and so you'll see this ash UV grid and the CinderBlock. So let me just assign this real quick and I'll come back to the UV grid. So 6 to display your textures, and now I have my textures displayed on my CinderBlock evenly across all of them. So let me just show you real quick with the UV grid. So we have this checkerboard pattern, which is the default Maya checkerboard. So if I scale this up, you'll see that it just goes and goes and goes and goes, and I'm getting a lot more texture density. I'm getting a lot more checkerboard. And so let me scale this down a touch. So you'll see the effect it's going to have on my texture in a second. So the brick is very reflective, yes, but super high quality texture being repeated dozens of times across every shell, basically, to give you this high quality resolution on this. The UV grid that I had in there, when you're doing your mapping process, you don't like the checkerboard pattern, or you otherwise find it not the best to look at, so I'm gonna make this Lambert that I call UV grid, and then I'm gonna assign a material just like anything else. And sorry, so I got a small interruption. So this UV grid is it's the same thing as your checkerboard pattern basically, except it's colored, so it doesn't look like terrible when you're working with it. Something that it's a holdover from when Maya didn't actually used to have that built in, so this is what we would do back in the day when I had to UV uphill both ways through the snow. So if you're interested in using it, I want to make it available to you. That's all. So thanks for watching, folks.